I was just explaining that, Afreximbank is at the forefront of financing trade in Africa. And for us to be able to do that in a more effective way, we need to be more adequately capitalized. So the reason we are raising additional equity today is to enhance our capitalization so that we will be able to make a meaningful contribution to financing Africa's trade, right? This is part of our ongoing strategy to strengthen the bank's capital. We had a very successful equity raising last year from our existing shareholders, and now we are approaching new shareholders who have not yet invested in the bank to consider investing through Class D shares of the bank, which will be issued in form of depository receipts. Just to put it into context, what we are doing today is a novel transaction which involves Afreximbank issuing depository receipts to the investing public for the first time. There's no other multilateral which has done this, and there's no other African bank which has advised on a transaction like this. So it is a first in many, many ways.
The target investor is the sophisticated investor, the long-term investor, the pension fund. We think this instrument is attractive because of its first currency diversification and its low correlation to the current banking portfolio in Kenya. So this presents an interesting opportunity for these kinds of investors to have a piece in this fantastic institution.
This is the first time that you have a financial instrument issued by a Pan-African bank, deposited with an African bank, advised by African legal advisors and financial and transaction advisors, and listed in African stock exchange for the development of trade in Africa and for the progress of African population. So this is a real first, and we are very privileged to be associated with that. But as we say, we have that experience for India. We are leveraging on that experience for Africa, and therefore we get the full support of all the players in Mauritius, including the government of Mauritius, because as you know, all instruments in the stock exchange of Mauritius are tax-free. There's no capital gains tax, there's no dividend tax, and the government has even done a step further. Any investment into this depository receipts is eligible to the investor for permanent residency in Mauritius.
This program was already in plan for several months before the elections. We don't think that the fact of the elections should alter that program, especially as Kenyans have behaved extremely decently with the elections. The Supreme Court has made a decision and everyone has agreed to comply with that decision. Elsewhere in the world, the people would be praised. Why should we take a different view in our own continent? We should look up to ourselves and be proud about it. So we can't delay the program because of that, and we can't go elsewhere. The continent belongs to us. We must take control of it. We cannot have a view other than a very optimistic view of it, because indeed there is plenty of progress in the continent and there is plenty of opportunity.
These depository receipts are targeted at very, very specific, sophisticated investors, including pension funds, which by their very nature take a long-term view of the investments they are making. And so I think that the timing is such that you can have conversations anytime on a continuous basis. And we believe that the conversations we've had so far, basically, one fill us with hope, and the fact that we believe the people we've talked to understand what is being placed before them and the long-term value of the instruments which are being placed before them. So that, I believe, has been factored into a lot of the conversations we've had, which have been going on for quite some time.